My dad said, "Tell them you made a mistake." I was 17, and the mistake wasn't mine. But refusing to lie cost me everything: my home, my family, my future under his roof. I didn't cry when he slammed the door. I didn't plead. I just picked up my backpack and walked. Inside, my silver bracelet slid down my wrist, cold against my skin, the only thing from my grandmother that still felt like safety. He cut me off financially the same week. No tuition, no savings. Just a single sentence in a voicemail: "You made your bed." I never deleted it. I listened to it when I needed to remind myself who I was fighting to forget. He erased me because I chose truth over comfort. For 12 years, I built my life in silence. I studied at night, worked all day, said no to parties, yes to shifts, yes to anything that wasn't begging. I taught myself how to stay upright when the people who raised me pretended I didn't exist. Friends became family, strangers became lifelines. I kept my grandmother's bracelet in a drawer during interviews, but wore it every time I signed a lease, an offer letter, a milestone that said, "You're still here." My dad's reunion came up on social media, the 40th anniversary of his alumni association, the one he ran like a royal court, champagne, valet, a rooftop venue. He'd be there, Tyler too, Claire in her curated pearls. I wasn't invited. Of course, I was forgotten. Like a typo in the family script, they thought silence would humble me. It only made me precise. A week before the event, I got a message from a corporate client. "We want you to speak," it said. "We're sponsoring a table at the reunion." They didn't know my history, they just saw my work. It was poetic, almost cruel. A younger me would have cried. This version of me only smiled. I accepted, then booked my flight. Then upgraded it to charter. The morning of the reunion, I pulled out the silver bracelet. It still fit, a little tighter, maybe, but I wore it anyway. I arrived last. All eyes turned when the helicopter blades began to slow. My heels hit the pavement like a verdict. I didn't wave, I didn't rush, I just walked past the man who said I'd never make it without him, and in that moment, every step felt like a sentence he'd once spoken. Return to sender. Growing up, my dad ruled our house like it was a courtroom. He was the judge, the jury, the one who decided what counted as truth, and in his world, truth was whatever made him look good. He was a corporate VP, obsessed with image. We weren't allowed to wear wrinkled clothes or say "I don't know" in public. Mom left when I was 9, not officially, but emotionally. By 13, Claire had moved in. Claire was sleek, polished. The kind of woman who never ate bread but always served it. She smiled too much at Tyler and too little at me. By the time I turned 15, she was calling herself Mom in Christmas cards. Tyler was the golden boy, younger by 2 years. But always protected. He got grounded for crashing the car, but still got a new one on his birthday. I got grounded for missing curfew after volunteering at a food drive in our house. Fairness was fiction, but appearances, sacred. I learned early that obedience was currency. Smile in photos. Don't talk back, stay useful. I did well in school, helped around the house, stayed out of trouble. All the things that made me invisible, not unforgettable. The bracelet from my grandma was the only thing that felt mine. She gave it to me the year before she died. For when you feel unseen, she whispered. I wore it under sweaters like armor. At school, teachers praised me. At home, I was called dramatic if I cried, ungrateful if I asked questions. Tyler got called brilliant for submitting projects I helped him finish. Claire once told me, "You're very capable, but not warm." I was 16, I remember nodding like I agreed. Inside something cracked. I learned to tuck it away. They never hit me. They just handed me silence, like a punishment dressed as peace. Dad's friends adored Tyler. "He's got your charm," they'd say. Me, I was rarely introduced. Once, I overheard Dad say, "She's quiet." Like her mother, as if quiet was a flaw, as if I was a reflection he didn't ask for. He ran the alumni group like a country club. His photo was on banners, newsletters, plaques. Every year, he'd organize the gala, post speeches, brag about Tyler's leadership potential. When I got a scholarship letter in the mail, he barely looked up from his laptop. "Good. But don't act like this makes you special," he said. That was always his gift, turning every victory into a reminder of what I still wasn't. Praise was rationed. Control was abundant. I didn't see the betrayal coming because I still believed there were lines he wouldn't cross. But I was wrong, and the moment I chose truth over his lie, I found out exactly how disposable a daughter could be. The red flags weren't red at first. They were beige, neutral, easy to excuse. He's just stressed. She didn't mean it like that. You're overthinking it. I swallowed those phrases until they soured inside me. One afternoon, I found Tyler's report card in the trash. All cease. I overheard Dad on the phone later that night. Tyler's excelling, real leadership material. I wanted to ask why he lied, but I knew better. He lied to protect Tyler's image. And Claire backed it with her flawless smiles. When I tried to correct the narrative, I was told, "Don't stir drama." My silence became the favor they demanded. In this house, the truth was inconvenient, so they rewrote it without me. Dad once made me rewrite an essay because it criticized corporate greed. "Don't bite the hand that feeds you," he said. The irony stung. The hand hadn't fed me anything but pressure and performance. When I got an award for a community project, he didn't attend the ceremony. Said his alumni dinner was more important. "They depend on me." He shrugged. I wondered what it felt like to be someone he'd show up for. I remember the first time Claire forgot my birthday. She made a big deal over Tyler's the month before. When I mentioned it, she laughed. "Oh honey, I thought you didn't care about that stuff." I stopped mentioning it after that. They called me independent, but what they meant was easy to neglect. Dad once left me at school after a late club meeting. I waited outside in the cold for 2 hours. When he finally showed up, he didn't apologize, just said, "Next time, find a ride." Like it was my fault he forgot. We had family portraits done every year. In the last one, I was literally in the corner, half smiling, one step behind. Claire framed it and put it on the hallway wall like it was perfect. Tyler got into trouble. A stolen test, whispered rumors. Dad called it boys being boys. When I asked if there'd be consequences, Claire said, "Don't be jealous." That word hung in the air like poison. I got into an elite summer program my junior year. Dad refused to pay the deposit, said it was too far, too expensive, too unnecessary. 2 weeks later, Tyler went on a $5,000 leadership retreat in Aspen. It wasn't just favoritism, it was strategic neglect. The final flag was a meeting. Tyler had cheated. Teachers knew. Dad asked me to take the blame, said it would keep things cleaner. I looked him in the eye and said no. He blinked, stunned. "Then don't expect me to protect you." I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I already knew what came next. The meeting was supposed to be private, just the school, my dad and me, but Claire showed up too, dressed like it was a charity brunch, and Tyler smug in the corner. Barely pretending to be nervous, the principal laid out the evidence. Identical answers, a suspicious essay, a paper trail back to Tyler. She said, "We need someone to take accountability." Dad turned to me without hesitation. He said, "Rachel will own this. She's mature enough to handle it." My breath caught. My name spoken like a pawn, not a person in that moment. I wasn't a daughter, I was a shield. I stared at him. "I didn't cheat," I said. Claire's eyes narrowed. Tyler looked at the floor. Dad tightened his jaw. "Rachel, now's not the time to make this harder than it needs to be." The principal looked confused. "So you're denying it?" she asked. I nodded. My voice was steady, but my hands trembled in my lap. "I didn't do it, and I won't say I did." Dad's smile was tight. "Artificial, you'll regret this," Claire chimed in. "We just need this resolved quickly." No one looked at Tyler. No one asked him to speak. After the meeting, in the parking lot, Dad exploded. "You made me look like a fool," he shouted. People turned to look. I stood still. "This was your one chance to prove loyalty," he hissed. He wasn't mad that I lied. He was furious that I didn't. That night, I came home to my suitcase by the door, my things shoved in like trash, my silver bracelet on top, the only thing placed gently, as if even Claire couldn't bring herself to throw it away. No one said goodbye. Tyler avoided eye contact. Claire gave me a rehearsed shrug. Dad just pointed toward the door. "You want truth? Go live with it." I stayed on a friend's couch for 3 months, ate instant noodles, studied under streetlights outside campus when the library closed. Still, I never reached out, never begged. Mom was out of reach. Remarried, distant, vaguely aware of my existence, so I became my own emergency contact, my own plan B. They didn't just abandon me, they made sure I knew it was a punishment. When I got a part-time job tutoring, I bought a second-hand coat and a notebook. I wrote 3 words inside the cover, "Don't forget this," and I didn't. There were nights I couldn't sleep, not because of noise, but because of silence, the kind that echoes, the kind that reminds you no one's coming. I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder how a father chooses pride over his child. My grades dipped. I missed a scholarship deadlines. I stopped answering texts. People noticed, but no one knew what to say. I wasn't angry. I was emptied out, like someone had cut the lights in my chest. The bracelet felt heavier during those months. I wore it under my sleeve, almost superstitious, some mornings. It was the only reason I got out of bed, something physical, something left. I wasn't healing, I was surviving with style. I worked 2 jobs, one tutoring, one at a bookstore. My skin broke out, my hair thinned, I drank too much coffee and never cried in public. That was my rebellion, staying composed while falling apart. On my 18th birthday, I ate a granola bar and sat in a quiet library, no messages, no calls. Tyler posted a photo from his road trip with Dad. Matching hats, matching grins, I blocked them both that day. There were moments I wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. So I wrote instead, pages filled with rage and grief and questions like, why wasn't I worth defending? They taught me strength meant silence. I took it to literally, one afternoon. I passed the reunion venue by accident, a giant banner celebrating 40 years of leadership, my dad's name listed first, his smile, the same one he wore while discarding me. I stood across the street for 15 minutes, not because I wanted to go inside, but because I wanted to remember how it felt to be excluded so vividly, to feel it burn, to let it brand me. At work, someone asked me if I had family nearby. I smiled too quickly. Not really, I said. It was easier than explaining the truth, that I used to, but they voted me out. Then one day, I fainted, exhaustion, malnutrition. My manager found me slumped behind the counter. I woke up to fluorescent lights and a nurse asking if there was someone to call. There wasn't. Collapse doesn't always look like screaming. Sometimes it looks like disappearing quietly. That night, I walked home in the rain, my shoes soaked, my teeth chattering. But inside, something cracked, and it wasn't weakness. It was clarity. I couldn't keep surviving for survival's sake. I had to choose myself, deliberately, loudly. Even if no one else clapped. The shift didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, like breath returning after drowning. I started saying no to extra shifts, to guilt, to anything that didn't align with the woman I was trying to become. I found an old folder of essays I had written, tucked between bills and rejection letters. I read one out loud. For the first time, I didn't sound like someone begging to be accepted. I sounded like someone trying to be heard. I submitted that essay to a nonprofit's writing contest. 2 weeks later, I got an email. I'd won a stipend, a mentorship, and a published feature in their annual journal. Recognition from strangers felt more honest than silence from blood. The mentor assigned to me, a woman who had walked away from her own toxic family. She didn't ask what I lost. She asked what I wanted to build. That question changed everything. With her help, I applied for a fellowship, fully funded, full-time, high pressure. I wrote my application in one night, wearing the silver bracelet like a shield. When I got the acceptance letter, I didn't cry. I laughed, not because I was happy, but because I could already hear Dad's voice in my head saying, it's probably not sustainable. And for once, I didn't care. Success tastes different when no one claps for you but you. The fellowship led to contracts. Contracts led to clients. Clients led to my own agency. Lean, smart, strategic. I built it like a fortress with glass walls, transparent but untouchable. One of our biggest partners, the corporation that sponsors my dad's alumni association, they asked me to be a keynote speaker at their reunion table. The full circle moment almost knocked the breath out of me. I didn't hesitate. I signed the contract that day. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't need to. The power wasn't in announcing it. It was in showing up. I revisited the voicemail. He left me years ago. You made your bed. I listened without flinching, then deleted it for the first time. My last act of preparation wasn't the dress or the speech. It was pulling out my grandmother's bracelet. I polished it, wore it. It still whispered, for when you feel unseen. This time, I wasn't just seen, I was spotlighted. The helicopter wasn't for show. It was part of the event, and I didn't request it. But when the blades slowed and I stepped out, every eye turned. He was there. He recognized me. His face didn't move, but I saw it, the question in his eyes. Is that her? Yes, it was me, and I wasn't coming to say hello. I walked into the venue without hesitation. My name was on the list. My seat was at the front, not because of my father, but because of my merit. Every inch of the room reminded me who I used to be. He was standing by the champagne table, laughing. Too loud, Claire on his arm, Tyler a few steps behind. already tipsy. They didn't see me at first. I stood in the center, letting the moment stretch. Then Claire's eyes caught mine. She froze. Her hand tightened on her glass. Dad followed. Her gaze. Tyler turned last. The air shifted, not loud, but sharp. Their silence tasted better than applause. I didn't smile. I didn't flinch. I turned toward my table and took my seat. The program began. My name was printed in bold beneath the title, Keynote, Ethics in Branding. The irony. The section right after his own speech, we were back to back. Or rather, I was the follow-up, the closer, the one they stayed to hear. He spoke first, stumbled through it, avoided eye contact. A few people clapped, out of habit, out of history. Then he stepped down and I stood up. They tried to mute me. Now they had to listen. I didn't speak about him. I spoke about values, resilience, how truth is branding's most dangerous weapon, and its strongest shield. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't sweat. People leaned in, some nodded. A few even teared up. When I finished, the applause wasn't polite, it was thunderous. I bowed my head once, then stepped off stage. I passed my father on the way out. Didn't stop, didn't nod, just let the sound of clapping trail behind me like a crown dot at the cocktail hour. Someone asked me if I was Dennis's daughter. I said, "No, I'm Rachel," just that, no label, no apology. They erased my name. I replaced it with my own. I left early, slipped out the back. My driver opened the car door. I took one last look over my shoulder. Tyler was watching me now, like he knew, like he finally understood what it meant to be second, inside the car. I took off my bracelet and looked at it, for the first time. It didn't feel like armor, it felt like a reminder that surviving is quiet, but arriving, that's loud. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. No alarms, no noise, just light pressing through the curtains. For once, I didn't feel the weight of proving anything, I just felt stillness. I sat at the edge of the bed, bracelet in hand. I traced its shape, remembered the weight of rejection, the ache of being unseen, and now, the quiet after the storm, not empty, but earned. I brewed coffee slowly, no rush. My phone buzzed, to messages from people at the gala, praise, gratitude. An offer to speak again, not one word from him, and that, somehow, was a gift. Sometimes, silence is the apology you stop needing. I didn't block them, I didn't reach out, I didn't make announcements or cut ties publicly, I just didn't answer. The version of me they created no longer existed. A week later, I got a parcel in the mail. No note, no return address. Inside, a framed photo, one of the gala portraits, just me, confident, alone, centered. I hung it in my hallway, right beside my diploma, right below a small glass case, and inside it, the silver bracelet. I was never just surviving, I was preparing. When people asked me about family, I said I came from silence, but I built my own voice, I built my own legacy, and it didn't require their blessing, only my own permission. The company grew, my circle deepened. I began mentoring other young women who'd been erased, overlooked, outcast. I told them what no one told me: you are not the problem. You are the proof. Tyler reached out eventually, an email, soft, passive, hope you're doing well, Dad talks about you sometimes. I read it, then deleted it. No anger, just clarity. Dad never contacted me, not after the gala, not after the press mention, not after my interview went viral. He stayed quiet, maybe from shame, maybe from pride. Either way, I had peace they expected, a daughter they could shape. I became a woman they couldn't reach. One evening, I passed the old house, lights off, different family now. I didn't stop, I didn't cry. I just nodded, like saying goodbye to a chapter that no longer held me. Back at my place, I opened my office drawer, pulled out the glass box, looked at the bracelet one last time, then closed it gently, not out of pain, but out of completion. I walked outside, barefoot, onto the balcony. City lights blinking below, my reflection in the glass, taller, clearer, real, and in that stillness, I whispered to myself, forgiveness is just letting go of the hope they'll ever understand.